Hey there, it's Khatleesi, and I am back again with some Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. It has been a very long time, but I am about to load in that initial save file that we were working upon. So we're actually on to a new story now. We finished the two first episodes. We're on to episode number 3, The Adventure of the Runaway Room. It's been so long for me.
Records of the late last century, I am faced by the events of a certain bitter winter. A murder in a carriage as it sped through dense London fog in the dead of night. Though the victim and the perpetrator were the only ones inside, there were multiple witnesses to the crime itself. However, none could have imagined at the time that such a seemingly obvious case as this would end in such a horrendous manner. My friend, Mr. Herlock Sholmes, once said of the incident,
Don't do that to me.
that perhaps that case was indeed the prelude. The beginning of a long concerto that impressive Japanese student and I were to play together.
I thought Herlock was gonna be dead. Ooh. I like this.
Amazing. Is this really just a railway station?
Railway station or not, I've never seen such an enormous building before.
And look at all the steam locomotives. This country is incredible.
It's beautiful. Oh, I love it.
I feel like I'm dreaming.
So this is the capital of Great Britain.
So, where to?
Oh, hello.
Climb aboard. I'll take you wherever you want to go.
In that case, the Supreme Court in Whitehall, if you wouldn't mind.
My pleasure. I suppose you're visiting students from abroad, eh?
Yes.
Thought so. Well then, I hope you enjoy your stay. And welcome to the centre of the world, Great Britain's mighty capital, London.
The center of the world. I wonder what's gonna happen. 18th of February, 9:21 a.m. British Supreme Court, Lord Chief Justice's office. What an incredible place. It's so imposing. It's almost suffocating. This place is breathtaking. It looks like a fortress. There are some stone buildings like this in Japan now, of course. But they've only been built in the few short decades since we opened our borders to the outside world. An authentic example like this has quite a different impact, wouldn't you agree? A far cry from the wooden paper most of our buildings are constructed from. So I want to check out real quick. So if I click options, okay, this is where I can save. That's all I need to know. It's certainly unfamiliar. But I think there's more to the differences than just construction materials. What is this place again? This is the Lord Chief Justice's office, Naruhodo-san, in the Supreme Court of Great Britain. The Lord Chief Justice. We had instructions to report here at this time if circumstances were different. We were supposed to let the Lord Chief Justice know that we had arrived from Japan. But Kazuma can't. No. So instead, we are here in a different capacity. As envoys to report the news of Kazuma-sama's death. Yes. and having delivered his or her message, an envoy's duty is done. So, we'd have to return to Japan. If we want to remain here in Great Britain, I have to take Kazuma's place as the law student selected for the study tour. Yes, which means you need to requisite qualifications as a lawyer, which is what I've been studying for. Here in Great Britain, it is the Lord Chief Justice who appoints lawyers. So that's the second reason why we're here, to have you officially recognized as a lawyer. It's the only way that we'll be able to remain here in London. I hope I'm up to scratch. Ha, good morning. Sorry for keeping you. Here he is. Oh, I trust you aren't too exhausted after your long voyage from Japan. It seems I'm 1 hour, 12 minutes, and 47 seconds late. My apologies. Oh, no, don't mention it. We're never happier than when we're standing around with nothing much to do. How fortunate. So, introductions. I am Male Strongheart, Lord Chief Justice of the British Empire. Ugh, and I feel like a little mouse under an elephant's foot. Come on, Mr. Naruhodo, don't be a mouse. Oh, it's an honor to meet you, Lord Chief Justice Strongheart. I'm Ryonosuke Naruhodo from the Empire of Japan. Well, Mr. Naruhodo, welcome to London, the capital of our glorious British Empire. Ah, yes, thank you. Converse. Let's converse. Let's talk about London. Let's keep it easy going for now. So, what are your impressions of our capital so far? How do you like London? Oh, hell, I've been so nervous ever since I got here that I can't remember a single thing about the city. It's simply splendid, isn't it, Mr. Naruhodo? Oh. We had a wonderful view of some of London's streets from the carriage on the way here from the station. Everything is so impressive and grand. I must say, I'm almost lost for words. I'm glad to hear you like it. The city boasts tramways, piped water and gas, even cables supplying electricity. We spearhead every revolutionary new technology in the world. Every visitor to London is astounded. Oh yes, astounded is the word. I love the steampunk gears in the background as well. Thanks for saving me there, Suzato-san. And everyone seems to so jolly and full of vigor. Yes. There's much excitement about the upcoming Great Exhibition we will be hosting here in London. Great Exhibition? Cultural and technological achievements from around the globe are to be exhibited here in our great city. It will be the greatest spectacle of its kind in history, and will make Paris's World Fair look like a toy shop. Gosh, I can hardly imagine how magnificent it's going to be. Great Britain's capital city is nothing but magnificent. London is the center of the modern world, even if you do say so yourself. The sun will never set on our great empire. Perhaps it is fate that in these progressive times we welcome visitors from the land of the rising sun. Alright, law student. Lord Chief Justice. I think you were expecting a student of law for the study tour, weren't you? Absolutely. A Mr. Kazuma Asuji, if my memory serves. That's right. The British government has already been telegraphed a full report on the situation. I understand the young man lost his life aboard the steamship bound for our shores. That's amazing. The news reached him before we even arrived. My country naturally extends its deepest condolences to yours. Oh, thank you. And you honored this appointment specifically to inform me of the news. Yes. We are here in the capacity of envoys from Japan to report the sad news in person. They tell me you Japanese are a people of protocol and courtesy, and I see that it's true. Unlike the man who showed up an hour and a half late. And it is with some great regret that I must inform you that the death of the young lawyer means the study tour arrangement can no longer proceed. If you would just hear us out, Lord Strongheart. What do you have to say, madam? It's about the study tour. Mr. Naruhodo here would like to make a proposal. Would he now? Well, Mr. Naruhodo, this is it then, the moment of truth. Continuing study tour. The thing is, Lord Justice, Lord Strongheart, I was wondering if perhaps you would consider allowing the student tour to go ahead. Don't misunderstand me, Britain would ideally like to see the tour go ahead. But without a lawyer from your country, there's nothing to be done. Well, in that case, what if there was someone else? Another lawyer from Japan, I mean. Is there something I don't know? Only a single lawyer was invited to Great Britain from your country. And that was Mr. Asaji. At least, that is what I've been led to understand. Well, the thing is, this really isn't going well at all. Well, if you would speak up, I just can't seem to find the right words to say to this man. Yeah. Mr. Naruhodo, I could ruin things here if I'm not careful. What am I going to say? Do I get a choice? If there's someone else here from Japan who could be described as a lawyer, it's me. It's me. I can do it. Is that so? I mean, I don't actually have any qualifications as such, but no qualifications, you say, and yet you still claim to be a lawyer. I have acted as a lawyer in court before. Only once, as it happens. And I had Kazuma to help me, and I was the accused, by glossing over the details. I've been spending every spare moment of a journey here to Great Britain studying. I've learned all about British law and court proceedings while I was on board the SS Buria. The voyage from Japan is some 50 days, I believe. Not what you might call a full education. To become a qualified lawyer here in Britain, not only do you need a university degree in law, you must also complete several years of training. I realize this is far too short a period of time, but I can't just go back to Japan. Kazuma, Mr. Asaji's journey had only just begun. Coming here on this study tour was all he thought about. I have to carry on and do everything he planned to do. I know it must sound like I have an overly inflated opinion of myself, but I would do anything to prove that I have what it takes. Any test you care to set on me. Just one chance, that's all I'm asking for. Please. 31 seconds. Sorry? Your opening statement there, Mr. Naruhodo. It was 31 seconds long. Not too brief, not too protracted. A perfectly judged appeal, I would say. Which is a skill that would stand you in good stead as a lawyer. Oh, thanks. So, you're willing to put those words to trial, are you? Well, I'm all for entertainment. Huh? But let me ask you one thing first, sir. Yes? You say you intend to do everything Mr. Asaji planned to do. Are you firmly set on that path? Well, yes, that's my intention. I see. Am I imagining things? Or did his expression just alter a fraction there all of a sudden? Very well. You have your wish. I'll give you a chance. A test to become a specially certified lawyer. Whether you pass or fail is entirely down to you. Really? Oh damn, do I take the test? So, what form will the test take exactly? Tell me, Miss Naruhodo, what do you consider the role of a lawyer to be? Well, defending people, of course. Well said. So, let's have you defend someone. Huh? Ooh. Your timing is perfect, in fact. There's an app trial about to begin later today. No advocate has been appointed for the defense as yet, so this will be welcome news. Today? Straight away? If you manage to secure a verdict of not guilty, you'll have passed my test. What could be simpler? Ugh, now how do I get myself into these situations? Well, could I ask, what sort of trial is it, Lord Strongheart? Yes, good question. Ah, I remember. It's a murder trial. A murder? Again? An extremely simple case, I understand. You really can't lose. That's easy to say. But I should mention, just in case, if the defendant is found guilty, he will, of course, be sentenced to capital punishment. Capital punishment? He'll be put to death? Here in Great Britain, murderers are sent to the gallows without exception. Presumably, you read that much in your short C-based introduction to British law? We can't possibly agree to such a test. We'd be toying with a man's life. I am the Lord Chief Justice, and I've decided it's acceptable. But you can't do that, can you? There's no need to overcomplicate this. All you have to do is ensure that you don't lose. So, the defendant may live or die depending on how well I perform in court. If I lose, he'll be hanged. Mr. Naruhodo, you've come to me claiming to be a lawyer. If you want me to take you seriously, you need to prove you're willing to do a lawyer's job. And you say you intend to see true the will of your compatriot, Mr. Asaji. I would like to understand just how far you're willing to go in order to make that happen. He's testing my resolve. What's the matter? You've fallen silent. I'm sorry. Oh man, right when I took a sip of water too, he tells me I've fallen silent. That's crazy. I'm sorry, but time's pressing. Trial begins shortly. I need an answer from you now. What's it to be? What do I say? Do I agree to this absurd test? Oh, I was not paying attention when I clicked, but I clicked the right one. Alright then, I can't do it. I can't get the words out. 15 seconds. Your decision making needs work if you want to be a lawyer. That was too slow. So, it's as I suspected, is it? Sorry? You have noble intentions, but lack the resolve to see them through. The test is cancelled. Thank you for stopping by. What? Go and acquire your ticket for passage back to the east tomorrow. This conversation is over. Yes, Lord Strongheart. Thank you for offering me a chance. Mr. Naruhodo, I'm sorry, Mrs. Sato, but what could I do? It's alright, I understand. You do? It's not an easy decision to choose whether to defend a man in these circumstances, but resolve has absolutely nothing to do with it. What are you trying to say, madam? I think what Mrs. Sato means is that no matter how badly I'd like to be recognized as a lawyer and stay here in Great Britain, to risk another man's life by treating his one and only chance at a trial so trivially would be utterly unforgivable, and I feel exactly the same way. I'm sure the defendant won't see this trial as a test, as some kind of experiment. A lawyer may fight for his clients in court day after day. But for each one of those clients, the particular day they stand in the dock may be the only chance they have to fight to prove their innocence. No, I was wrong. I'm not qualified to do that job yet. I'm sorry for wasting your precious time, Lord Chief Justice. What are you doing? Wait, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh, was there something else? It's approximately 20 minutes by carriage to the Old Bailey from here. If you leave immediately, you should still be there in time. But I just said that I was quite serious in what I told you. The defendant in this case has literally no one to advocate for him. What? At this point, he can't hope to find someone to represent him. The trial will begin without a defense, and if that happens, there's only one possible outcome. He will receive the most severe sentence the judge can pass down. But that's awful. But that is the truth. Why does it have to be like this? Please don't expect an answer to every question. The cold hard truth of the matter is that there is only one person now with a chance to save this man from a very miserable end. And that is you. I'm really his only hope. So, what do you say now, madam? Me? What do you mean, Lord Strongheart? You said it wasn't an easy decision to choose whether to defend a man in these circumstances. And I agree. But, in my estimation, it is purely and simply a matter of resolve. That's what I was thinking when this all started, too, is that it's all gonna come down to resolve. Oh. Our time is up here. I have a meeting to attend. I must leave in 2 minutes and 16 seconds. So, venture into our great city and enjoy yourselves. Okay. He's gone. The Old Bailey. If we're going to do this, Mr. Naruhodo, we must leave at once. Okay, let's move. Let's go to the Old Bailey. London's highest criminal court with an illustrious past, the Old Bailey. This is where I'm to take my test and prove my worthiness as a lawyer. If we hurry to catch a cab, we may just make it to the courthouse on time. Let's do it. Let's get this cab. This is the courthouse? Yep. 18th of February, 9:45 a.m. The Old Bailey. Defendant's antechamber. Oh, thank goodness, we're in time. There's still 15 minutes until the trial begins. I never knew a horse-drawn carriage could go so fast. I thought my teeth were going to rattle loose. Did you hear what I said to the driver when we climbed aboard? Get us to our destination in 5 minutes, driver, and there's a guinea in it for you. It's one of my favorite lines from the Sherlock Holmes stories, and it worked quite perfectly. I'm not sure why you're so pleased. I thought we were going to die, and we had to pay gold for the privilege. Well, at least we arrived here before trial started. Yes, I suppose there's that. Anyway, I don't understand it. The court clerk said the defendant should be here, but there's no sign of him at all. So this is the Old Bailey. Even this room for defendants to wait in is grand. Are you alright, Mr. Naruhodo? I'm feeling tense, that's all. This place gives me the same sense of foreboding that I remember from the Supreme Court in Japan. An oppressive air, almost as if the building itself is going to crush whoever is about to be sentenced. It feels like only yesterday that I was the one about to be crushed. Yes, whoever the man you're to defend is, I imagine he's feeling very alone at this moment. Top of the morning to you, madam, sir. What are yous doing following me here? Things are fair desperate, are they? Sorry? Would you look at those expressionless faces from the east, are yous? We're from Japan, yes. Ah, Japan, is it? Right, say no more. So, how much do yous need? No. We're just here because... No need to explain, fella. I've been there myself, so I have. No place to go, nothing to eat. barely a penny to your name, and all while in a strange, faraway land. Well, actually, we haven't found a place to stay yet, no. 'Tis grand, 'tis grand. Let me start by giving yous 1,000 guineas. Say nothing now. Ha! 1,000 guineas? Please, Mr. Sato, you don't have to shout. But 1,000 guineas is enough to build an entire mansion in the most prestigious area of Tokyo. What? This nothing to me at all. I like to ensure I have sufficient funds to weather a rainy day, you see. I have enough wealth to buy the city of London 2 or 3 times over. Could that much rain even fall in one day? Well, even so, we couldn't possibly... Whoops. Well, even so, we can possibly accept such a large sum of money. Ah, that hit me in the eye. Don't get me wrong, fella. I'm not giving you no strings attached. I'll be wanting you to do something for me. Oh? To be honest, it's a little embarrassing. The trial that's about to begin, you see, is for me good self here. I'll be in the dock. So now, what I want you to do is come along with me and stand there beside me. Officially, you'd be my lawyer, but that's just a little detail now. Oh, well, the thing is, don't worry about a thing. All you have to do is stand up there next to me, nothing more. Otherwise, you see, the trial is going to start without me having any kind of representation at all. So it was true. The Lord Chief Justice wasn't just making it all up. I'm terribly sorry to have to ask, but does that mean you're the defendant in this trial? Blustering blazes, do yous not know who I am? Me, one of London's biggest names? No, sorry. We've only just arrived in the city, you see. I see. I suppose it isn't altogether impossible. Well, just next to Hyde Park, there is the center of London. In the center of London is another beautiful park. Sorry, a park? What? It's called a McGilded Park, full of blossoming flowers and spring and singing birds and whatnot. I donated it to the city, so I did. An entire park in central London? A city of smiles, that's my vision for London. There's nothing Magnus McGilded wouldn't do for the city and its square old people. That's amazing. I mean, really extraordinary. Ah, but now they've the gall to say I'm a good-for-nothing criminal. Me, Magnus McGilded. What is the matter with the London police, I ask ya? Ha ha ha. Alright, don't pass out. Mr. Naruhodo. Perhaps now would be a good time to introduce ourselves while the gentleman catches his breath. Good idea. Ha ha ha. Mr. McGilded, the thing is, we're actually here in London to study British law. We're law students on a study tour from Japan, you see. So, if you don't have a lawyer for the trial yet, and you'd be happy to put yourself in our hands, we'll do our best. What was I after saying, you daft idiot? I've given you 1,000 guineas, stand up there next to me, haven't I? Well, yes, but I wasn't really offering to stand up there next to you. Oh, I think I see what's going on here. Sorry? I know what you're thinking. This chancer of a fella claims to have more money than the Queen. But, if that's true, why the blazes can't he hire the finest lawyer in all of England? Because he did it. That's the only explanation. Well, exactly. Yes, exactly. What now? Well, like you said, if you have all that money, but you don't have anyone to represent you in court, there's no logical conclusion than you're guilty of the charges. Oh, that is not what I meant. Well, you can spade a spade in the east, so you do. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean any offense. I still can't express myself very well in English, you see. And I'm never sure what's acceptable to say and what isn't, so... Is that so? Because you sounded fluent enough when you were telling me what a blackguard I must be. I'm terribly sorry. Oh, I guess you like my answer. I can't say that I blame you for thinking it, fella. It is a little strange, to be honest. Why you don't have a lawyer, I mean. That would be the fault of the Reaper. Sorry? Did he just say Reaper? Aye, the Grim Reaper of the Bailey, Lord Barak van Zeeks. He's the prosecutor. Prosecutor is the Grim Reaper? When Van Zeek stands for the prosecution, they call the accused his sacrificial lambs. And to this day, in every single trial in which he's been the prosecutor, the accused has been damned. What? So it's reached a desperate situation, where there's no one willing to stand in defense against the fella at all. You could say he's a living legend of the Old Bailey. Goodness! Lord Barak van Zeeks? He must be an exceptionally talented prosecutor then. Talented isn't the word you're looking for, madam. It's cursed. Cursed? What on earth? The defendant is summoned, and his counsel. Please make your way to the courtroom. The trial is about to begin. His counsel, that would be me. Oh, 'tis time. Well then, fella, don't let me down. But I don't know anything about the case. You haven't told me what happened. Until you showed your face here, I had made me mind up, so I had. Sorry? I decided I'd have to defend myself in there. How would that have worked? But then you made an appearance. The student of law wouldn't, you know. It's no accident, I can assure you of that. 'Tis fate. So don't get cold feet now, please. I literally know nothing about the case, or about this man who stands accused. In fact, the only thing I do know is that I can't just turn my back on him. Mr. Naruhodo, the man has no one. He'll have to stand alone in that courtroom armed with nothing to defend himself. Yes, something that Kazuma would never have allowed to happen. Counsel for the defense, what are you doing? If you're late for the start of the trial, you will lose your right to stand. Let's go. I'll be right there. It's happening then. My first trial in a British court. I hope you're watching over me, Kazuma, because I have no idea how I'm going to manage this. '18th of February, 10 a.m. The Old Bailey courtroom. So, this is the highest court in Great Britain, the Old Bailey. Centuries of history in this place is palpable, isn't it? It's so different to the Supreme Court in Japan. It feels both imposing and serene at the same time. The atmosphere almost makes words redundant. Whatever the country, determining a person's guilt or innocence is always a solemn affair. May I say something, Mr. Naruhodo? Oh, yes. What? Your eyes look ready to pop out of your head again. I know, but I just can't help it. Oh my lord, who invited Dracula? In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. We are here today to determine the guilt or innocence of Mr. Magnus McGilbert. I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. Oh, that's Van Zieks, Dracula. The prosecution is fully prepared. That must be the Reaper of the Bailey. He does look like a Reaper. He really does look fully prepared to dispatch his next poor victim to the underworld. He does. Counsel for the defense. You appear to be Eastern. Do you speak English? Huh? Oh, yes, of course, sorry. But he asked if the defense was ready. And I couldn't be further from ready if I tried. Those eyes please me. Nipponese? They shroud your fear, your doubt, your trepidation. They run wild, cling to some phantom notion of courage. The quintessential look of a sacrificial lamb. Ugh, a cold shiver just ran down my spine all the way to the tips of my toes. Now, Mr. McGilded. Yes, my lord. You stand accused of murder, a capital offense. You could be sent to the gallows if found guilty. Are you quite sure you wish to entrust your defense to this foreigner? As I've always said, my lord, it's a grand thing to give opportunities to the young. Even if a fellow student from some little island off in the Far East. Is it not the British way to ignore the dangers to yourself and give those less fortunate a fair chance? I'd like to think that acts of chivalry do the great British Empire proud. Listen to Mr. McGilded. What a fine gentleman. Did you hear that he donated £5,000 to the government the other day? Mother, please, may we go and play to something something. It seems as though everyone in the public gallery is firmly behind Mr. McGilded. That's definitely welcome news, and he certainly has a way with words. I'm surprised he couldn't convince anyone to defend him. Eloquently put, Mr. McGilded, and most laudably sentiments. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I'm sure I need hardly remind you that you 6 members of the public have been selected for your impartiality. Are you ready to proceed? Yes, my lord. If the task is to send rotters to the gallows where they belong, I'm more than ready. Oh, he's gonna be tough to turn around. At the manor, his lordship always says we should dispose of rubbish promptly. Naturally, I agree. Ha! Any criminals here will soon be wishing they never set eyes on me. How does he have a knife in court? Oh, they're tough cookies. Oh my god, and this guy's drunk. We got knives, got alcohol. The British are totally unhinged in court. I feel a chill. Oh, don't mind me, my dears. I'll just be getting on with my knitting. Must finish these mitts for my grandson. Ah, Mr. Naruhodo, those people are... The jury, yes. That's something we don't have in Japan yet. That's right. I've only ever read about it. But here in Great Britain, the court's final verdict depends on the opinions of these 6 jurors. The judge passes sentence according to the law, but the jurors determine guilt based on common sense. So the defendant is ultimately judged from 2 completely different points of view. But how exactly do the jurors give their verdict? That I don't know. But I'm sure it will become clear as the trial progresses. Yes. Prosecutor Van Zieks. My lord, it's been a number of years since we've seen you here in the courtroom. I taught you to renounce your fame. I'm known as the Reaper of the Bailey, my lord. Infamy rather than fame, I would say. But yes, 5 years have passed since I last spread my wings in this capacity. So, what brings you back? Is there some change in circumstance of which the court should be aware? I leave that to your imagination, my lord. So the Reaper has been out of action for 5 years. Why did he have to choose today of all days to make a comeback? Don't lose heart, Mr. Naruhodo. As you wish, sir. The court nevertheless welcomes your return. Now then, opening statements, I think. A summary of the case, if you please. Certainly, my lord. As your lordship is aware, this is a case of overwhelming simplicity. We must be the only ones in here who aren't aware. The incident took place in the late evening, 3 days past. The hour was some minutes after 10. The victim was a maker of building bricks known in the community as Trice-Fired Mason. Sorry, Trice? He was a very accomplished craftsman. The bricks he fired were said to be almost indestructible. The victim's corpse was discovered in an omnibus in service on the streets of London at the time. A dagger that had been thrust into the victim's abdomen is believed to be the ultimate cause of death. Here's the autopsy report from the investigation medical officer at Scotland Yard. Thank you, counsel. I shall accept that and the photograph as evidence. The autopsy report has been entered into the court record. Perfect. A report prepared by the Scotland Yard coroner. It gives the cause of death as internal hemorrhaging as a result of a single stab wound to the abdomen. Photograph is also entered into the court record. A photograph of the victim taken on the omnibus. The knife in his abdomen is clearly visible, but his face is partly obscured from view by an old crooked hat. And one further item of evidence. The prosecution wishes to submit these as well. And these are? Good lord! Is that blood, counsel? Yes, my lord. Seized by a policeman who arrived at the scene. These gore-soaked gloves were taken from the hands of the accused when he was arrested. What? Mr. McGilded's gloves had blood on them? Yes, I will accept these as evidence as well. The defendant's leather gloves have been entered into the court record. The leather gloves the defendant was wearing at the time of the incident. There is a blood stain on the right glove. How'd I get into this? I'm backed into a corner before I've even started. Continuing. According to the driver of the omnibus, there were only 2 passengers traveling inside his vehicle at the time. Only 2. Obviously, one of those passengers was the deceased brickmaker, Mr. Mason. The other was the accused, Magnus McGilded. Well, rather damning circumstances to say the least. The bus driver was also there, may I remind you. Defendant, what say you? Well, of course, I have no recollection of such thing. Mr. McGilded! To be sure, I rode the omnibus that evening, but whenever I'm in a carriage, I'm taken with a fierce tiredness, and I always succumb to it. I claim to have been asleep. 'Tis the motion of the carriage, my lord. Little thin, so it is, and when I opened my eyes again, 'twas a desperate sight before me, the body of a man I'd never laid eyes on before in me life. Now ask yous, what good-hearted soul wouldn't rush to help a fella bleeding from his stomach? I wasn't about to start worrying about me gloves now, was I? I reached out to give the man a hand. So the blood got onto the gloves then, after the man had been killed. Unfortunately, that statement of the driver's is only the beginning. What? That's not all of it? There were multiple witnesses to the precise moment at which the brickmaker was fatally stabbed. Oh god. Order, order, order. When the killing took place, only the victim and the accused were inside the carriage, and there were witnesses to the crime. This is not just a case of compelling evidence. It's the nail in the coffin for the accused. Thank you, counsel. The circumstances of the crime have been made quite clear. I think we will hear testimony from these witnesses first of all. Your wish is my command. Bailiff, bring the witnesses in at once. So excuse me, there were 2 people on the bus, but we have 3 witnesses? Witnesses, your names and occupations. My name is, well, everyone calls me Beppo. I drive an omnibus in the East End. Okay, he's the driver, sure. Bruce Fairplay, I'm a banker in the city. My name's First. Lady First. I make hats for gents. Let's begin by confirming the facts. 3 days ago, at a short time after 10 o'clock in the evening, all of you present in the stand were in an omnibus and witnessed the aforementioned incident. Is that correct? Yes, sir. Quite right. Yes, sir. That's right, sir. Very well then, let's proceed to your formal testimonies, please. Each of you will tell the court precisely what you saw. They were all in the omnibus. There were 5 people total, not 2. What the witness saw. It was the last bus of the evening, so I had a few customers, I remember it well. The victim and the man accused of killing him were sat next to each other inside the bus. Then, out of the blue, the accused just reached over and plunged the knife right into his guts. That's right, he stabbed him. I screamed, I did. Couldn't help it. As soon as I heard the scream, I stopped my bus, and then I saw it too. Unambiguous testimony, I must say. Exactly, my lord. These men witnessed the incident in the omnibus with their own eyes. I'd like to ask a question, if I may. Yes, counsel. Well, this testimony makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. Why not? Well, the incident took place inside a moving carriage, didn't it? As has been clearly stated from the outset, yes. Well, in that case, how could these 2 witnesses possibly have seen what happened? There's no way they could have seen the inside of the moving carriage. Oh, how quaint. I'd read that civilization in the Eastern Island nations was a good century behind our own. But you're here in London yourself. Are you really so ignorant about our omnibuses? Huh? Tell me, my... I think this is Nipponese friend? Nipponese? I'm gonna go with that. Have you even traveled in an omnibus? Well, no. We, only arrived in London this morning. No matter. I've arranged for us all to see for ourselves the actual scene of the crime, that is. What? Do you mean the actual scene? How? A carriage is signed to be moved, after all. Presumably, you understand that much. Yes. The omnibus in which this bloody crime took place is here today, in this very building. Here? What? The entire carriage? Bailiff, bring forth the stricken omnibus. Oh wow. Quite big. So that's an omnibus. The omnibus. I can't believe they could bring something so enormous in here. Great Britain's courtrooms are amazing. As you can see, the omnibus is pulled by 2 horses and can carry up to 8 passengers. Aha. 4 passengers seated inside in the enclosed cabin, and another 4 on a rooftop deck above. Every Londoner knows that the best view of the city's architecture and sights are to be had from the top of an omnibus. Aha! And I should point out to our 4 foreign guests that there is a skylight in the roof, allowing a view of the interior from the seats above. Ah, a skylight. Oh! The penny drops at last, I see. These 2 gentlemen were occupying the rooftop seats on the omnibus when the murder took place. That is how they came to witness the grim incident. Through the skylight. Ugh, that makes perfect sense. Well, Counsel, this is a first. In all my years behind the bench, I've never experienced a crime scene itself being brought into the courtroom. There are a number of important clues remaining inside the carriage, my lord. I would like to submit the omnibus itself as evidence. That is the prosecution's wish. Very well, I see no reason why not. This omnibus is hereby formally accepted as evidence. The 8-seater omnibus that was the scene of the crime. There were passengers both inside the carriage and on the roof deck that night. I can't believe it, the entire crime scene entered as evidence? Yes, Great Britain is simply extraordinary. I could help myself a lot by giving that omnibus such thorough examination, seeing as it's here. Let us continue with proceedings then. Your cross-examination, Counsel. So, I actually kind of want to end it here, but before I end it, I am kind of interested in checking some things out. The lawyer's name is embroidered on the inside here. Look, Kazuma Asaji. This was his band, of course. He had his heart set on the study tour in Great Britain. I'm sure he would have found the truth he longed for here. But he lost his life before he even had the chance to see the place. I have such a strong sense of his hopes and dreams when I look at this armband, though. So what's going on with the armband? I can't find anything out of place. What's this? These are the scales of justice. They're a symbol of the defense, aren't they? Yes, that's right. The scales are a symbol of fairness, to show that all are treated equal in the eyes of the law. And they're a warning to those who enter the courtroom without an impartial mind. But if they're the mark of the defense, it would be more auspicious if they were weighing more heavily on the not guilty side, I think. Very impartial, I'm sure. Okay, so that's interesting. I didn't know I had this band here. An armband I inherited from Kazuma. It identifies the wearer as a defense lawyer throughout the Empire of Japan. So maybe that's just to remind me to have an open mind and to be thorough. Autopsy report. Let's take a look at it. Victim. Name. Trice Fried Mason. Male. Age 54. Occupation. Brickmaker. Time and cause of death, 15 February, 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. Stabbed once in the abdomen with a knife whilst journeying in an omnibus. Died due to internal hemorrhaging resulting from the trauma. Okay. Whoops. Here we go. So we have a photograph here. Let's take a magnifying glass. Can I? Okay, so magnifying glass is not actually going to help me. If I click anywhere, I can just move it around and see what I find. So they did mention the hat being covering his face quite a bit, right? So I do wonder if I'll find something up here of substance, right? Yeah, so there's nothing I can click. Okay, interesting. Defendant's leather gloves, of course. Nothing inside, that's okay. Let's take a look at the blood. This is definitely blood, isn't it? Not the most pleasant sight to be confronted with on our first day in London. Well, nothing will come of grumbling now. No, by the way, is Mr. McGilded right-handed? Yes, I believe so. He was toying with a coin in his right hand a little earlier. Ha, pity. If only he'd been left-handed. I think blood on either glove would be fairly incriminating, really. So speaking of being right-handed or left-handed, this looks like it would be someone right-handed who would have put it in, because the top of the knife is pointing down. And I feel like that's just the motion you'd use with your right hand. I don't know if that has anything to do with any of this, but cool. And then the omnibus. Can I check inside? Can I go inside the omnibus or no? Job Masters, London head office. Okay, so that's interesting. So, this is the roof deck of the omnibus. Oh, you must have a wonderful view of London streets from up here. So people sit all the way up here on bitter winter nights with the cold air rushing past them. And they have to pay money to do so. Brr, I can't imagine how cold it must feel. That just made me think of something horrible. Can you imagine being dragged around the city in freezing cold as a punishment? Perhaps that is the real price to pay to stay out late. So something else I want to check out, if I can see it, is this one. So this is the roof deck of the omnibus. Oh, you must have a wonderful view of London streets from up here. So people sit all the way up here on bitter winter nights. Okay, so it's just gonna be the same. Yep. Cool. Okay. What about the window here? Let's take a look at that. You can certainly see inside the carriage through this opening, that's for sure. Yes, and there's a lamp in the enclosed cabin. So I'm sure the witnesses would have been able to see quite clearly. That's not good for us. Phoenix Wright Omnibus. I love that little Easter egg right here. Let's look through this window. There is a door right here. Well, let's open the door and go inside, shall we? Yes! The scene of a murder. It's horrible. I'm surprised we're able to do so. Okay, so we've got some blood on one side. We've got... that's a poster for the great exhibition that's due to start 6 months from now. There's a lot of focus being drawn to this Crystal Tower, the centerpiece of the whole exposition. Oh, the Crystal Tower. It's under construction already, I believe. People all over London must be fizzing with excitement at the prospect of such a grand event. Is that the same one? That's posed for a great exhibition, yeah. Okay. I can't check those out. It's quite a large skylight, isn't it? Yes, quite large enough to afford a good view into the cabin from the roof deck. And there doesn't appear to be a handle or catch of any description. So I suppose it can't be opened from inside the cabin, at least. Okay. Windows I can't look at. Okay. This seat looks reasonably soft, but it's actually rather hard when you sit on it. And only just wide enough for two gentlemen to sit side by side, really. Of course, an English gentlewoman could be dressed in such finery. It would be quite impossible for her to climb up to the roof deck, so she would have to be seated in here. A woman in a kimono would have the same problem. Women's clothes are very impractical, aren't they? Can I check down here? I can't, right? That's still part of This seat has a handle, it seems. Oh. Okay. This looks like all sorts of equipment that might be needed to keep the omnibus running. Feeding tubs, tools to repair wheels, blankets, horseshoeing tools. So a storage compartment for the coachman to keep his things, it seems. There doesn't seem to be any space for passengers to stow their luggage, that's for sure. Well, I don't imagine it would be very convenient for that purpose anyway. And if I click here, is it just the same thing? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I'm done with that. I am going to close that. Let's go on to this side over here. Doesn't look like I can do anything down there. Let's check out the blood. That's blood that's soaked into the seat. The victim's, obviously. Yes, and that seat would be clearly visible from the roof deck. Would you really stab somebody in full view of the other passengers like that, I wonder? Well, it was after dark. And there was a lamp on here. So perhaps the culprit couldn't see anything outside through the skylight. Whichever way you look at it, it doesn't seem like it was a planned attack. Okay. Let's see. I'm gonna open that up again. I am gonna open that back up. I want to see what's in here. What are these? So there's a briefcase, there's a bag, there's another bag, and then a chest. Okay, I'll keep that in mind. Have you seen enough? Let's step back outside then. Just in the middle of, you know, the courtroom while the proceeding is going on. Gonna check things out. Okay. What is this? This I'm interested by. Does it open up? So it doesn't look like there's anything else for me to check out. Okay. Alright then, I'm quite happy with that. So, that's going to be it for today's episode. If you stuck it out the whole way, thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like if that's something you want to do. And I will hopefully see you for the next episode. Alright, peace.